so let's go ahead and work on the upper control arm. Takes a little bit of finagling to figure out which pieces to use. That'll, you know, whatever ones will work for yours. I have the two different kits, so it actually kind of makes it helpful because some things work for some and not for others. As you'll see on the lower control arms. The only thing that I could find that was round that was even close to the right size was this hole saw. We'll try it. I've done crazier things. Okay, put this piece here, this piece here. So when you're pressing this, you're going to press it in from the outside. Okay. Let me actually move a little closer to the camera here. Alright. So I was able to get it started up on the vise with my piece on the end here. A couple of taps and obviously you bottom out. Now let's try to use the press to press it the rest of the way. Yep, let's press it right in. Now, just gonna ruin my hole saw. You get darn right it is. Hopefully it won't not ruining the piece here in the process. One of the things I did to make it go in a little easier, I took the file to it. I had gotten a little paint in there. I went ahead and made sure I got all the paint out of there. And made sure there weren't any burrs. And we're flush. Alright, let's get this one on here. Same thing. Gotta have space on the back. Push it through. Okay. Now, that should start pressing that down now. And it kind of works nice to have the leverage here on the table. You're seeing my elbow here is all you're seeing. But anyway, if I have somewhere to leverage the wrench. And it's going in, but there's still a fair amount of pressure there. Hammering these in would not be the preferred method. To get it started, fine, so I knew I had it aligned, but one more. There. Alright, so once you get the first bushing in, don't forget to install your inner shaft like I did. I had to take it all apart again. And then now we can press this in here. So good thing I hadn't returned my tool yet. Alright, so to tap these down, I'm just going to put them in the vise over here, set it on this edge, tap that bushing in there. It's already been in there once. It should go in pretty easy. So there's a lesson for you, boys and girls. Don't mess that up. Be sure you put one bushing in, then slide that in. I should have remembered that from when I took it apart. These do say, I went ahead and marked it here so you could see it. This does say wheel side, so it doesn't matter which way it goes in when you put it in, but when you do install it, this shaft isn't on center. So it says wheel side. That means that when you bolt it in there, this side needs to go toward the wheel. In fact, the other one I actually have, this is installed upside down, so the lettering's upside down, but that part doesn't matter. It just matters that the side here on these aftermarket ones, it says wheel side, that they actually go out toward the wheel, toward the ball joint. I forgot yesterday, I got to install my ball joints. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Install the ball joints as part of this video, I guess. Okay, so I just unbagged my ball joint here. I've got to put the grease zerks in these. So go ahead and do that on both. I'm going to do that for both of them. Go ahead and get them both out here. And yeah, I put the grease zerk on here, but I hadn't sealed it. So I'm going to go ahead and put some sealant on there real quick. So yeah, the paint's off of here right now because after I painted it, I could see I had some burrs standing up. So you definitely want to get rid of them. I'll look up what the torque specs on these are supposed to be. But mainly, I didn't want to spend 20 minutes ratcheting that down. Okay, come on. Next. All right, I think we're almost ready to start putting stuff actually on the car. Huh? Really? Put stuff on the car? Huh, that sounds like a great idea. All right, so this is the driver's side, and I'll show you the passenger side a little more detail because I can set the camera inside there. But let me zoom in here a little bit. So, got the bolts that come through here, and they have a special, like a knurling on them, so you don't have to have a wrench on the backside. Well, you have to have a wrench on there at least until they pull into the metal. All right, so got this driver's side together. I've got my 2 shims, which I had marked to clean them up, clean up the bolts, put them in here. Got the hardware on here to hold this in place. You want to get it snug, but it should still go down on its own weight. So that's plenty snug. These are nylocks, so they're really not going to back off. Probably wouldn't hurt to put some thread locker on these. I didn't. They get torqued pretty good, but notice where that says wheel side on here. That's because the shaft isn't ground on center, so be sure you put the wheel side toward the wheel. It's important on the aftermarket ones. All right, all that's left is the lower ball joints, and almost forgot. I almost went and returned the set today, and almost forgot about it. I have to press in the lower ball joints. So let's go ahead and get this done. I struggled with the other one a little bit, but I think I have a good idea what to do now. First thing I did already is I was filing around inside of here because I had painted this and gotten it a little bit of paint in there. And we're going to try lubing it up. Just put a little bit of grease in there so she's a little easier to slide in. I did get the other one in without damaging it though, so I'm pretty happy about that. Alright, so what I figured out was, so this is going to push on this. That worked fine. It didn't damage the other one. So that goes on here on this end. Okay, and on the other end, I've got this. And when this comes through, you just have to make sure that that lines up when it comes through there. So getting this lined up or set up in the first place, a little hard, but not impossible to do by yourself. If you have a friend, this would be a lot easier. If you have a press, it would be even easier, but it is what it is. Now this one can be a little bit different. Actually, you flip it over, do it from this side, because then that way it's like right on the table. See that? Flip this around. At least to get it set up, you know. Okay. Oh, put it in backwards. After all this finagling around, make sure you put it in the right direction. You don't want to have to take the stuff apart. I already did that once today with the other sleeves. You saw me do that on the putting these things in twice today. That was not fun. Oops, come here, baby. Okay, there we go. Slide him on there. And I say half of this is just getting stuff to line up. Just be especially sure. If it starts running crooked, what I did is took a hammer and a brass rod. Come on, baby. Get in there and stay in there. There we go. Took a hammer and a brass rod, and whichever side was falling behind on here, I just gave it a tap, and that seemed to work pretty good. All right, let's see if I can get it this time. Now I get it together, now I can turn it around to an easier position to work and for you to see. That's a win-win on that one. Move you over a little bit. I don't think you're going to get much better view than that. Hopefully the focus doesn't go too crazy with my arm in the way. I can already see it's starting to go kind of kittywampus. It did the exact same thing last time. Like I say, I just took a brass hammer. Took my big hammer with a brass rod. I've got a 5/8 brass rod, and hit this down. I'm gonna have to go put this on the counter over here and hit it a few times, and I'll be back. Well, it took a little more persuasion than I thought it was going to take, but I got it square now, and this does take some effort. Take your time, don't damage it. They have to reposition it a bunch of times. We now return to our regularly scheduled program. Yeah, the battery went dead as I was doing that one. And shortly thereafter, a couple more love taps to keep her straight. And she dropped right in. So, I wouldn't say dropped right in, but she went in. Alright, so I picked up some grease zerks for these. I somehow lost the other two that were supposed to go with this. I don't know what happened. That's what happens when you order a whole bunch of parts and you put them in a pile, I guess. So I put some Loctite and a lock washer on the back side of these. And I'll be honest, I don't know how in the world you would ever get these on here with the A-arms on. I'm going to go double check. Pretty sure it was a tall one that came off the driver's side, but I'm going to go double check real quick. I looked it up real quick just to make sure I wasn't doing this wrong. And apparently, if you look at this, the taller one does go on the driver's side, but if you look at this bolt pattern is the wrong size for over here. So at least with the factory mounts, they made it that you couldn't mix them up. And then this one obviously goes on the other side where the slots are. So, back to putting this back together. Like I mentioned before, I put Loctite on the bolts and lock washers. Brand new grade 8 hardware. Okay, so we're going to put the upper control arm on now that I got the engine mounts on. Let's go ahead and get this upper control arm on. And these aftermarket ones that I bought have a wheel side noted, so be sure it's facing toward the wheel. And this won't fit on here right now because there's absolutely no shims. You have to have some shims So let me go grab my bags of shims. Remember, we marked those because they were right side, but they were front and rear. So they were right front and right rear. I just realized I haven't cleaned these up. So I'm going to go do that real quick. I'll be right back. Almost forgot to record this. I've got the shims in here. Bringing the bolts up already. Not easy to get in here with the tools. Definitely going to want a deep wall socket for this outside one. For this one. Like one longer, one shorter over here? No. Oh. It didn't, wasn't sucked into the frame. These are the bolts that are, that have those knurls on them. There we go. I'll have to look up what the torque spec is on these. That's good enough for now. Again, the shims, I had them marked front and rear, you know, right front and rear, so I knew what I had. That side just had one shim each. They were the same. Same thing there. I just have them just snugged down. I'll look up the torque specs, and I might even back them off, put some thread locker on here, and then tighten them back down. I realized I didn't film an outro for my video. So anyway, I did get the lower control arms on. Did that off camera. I got started on them. They were quite a bear. I ended up floor jack, hammer, you name it, get them in there. So they were a bit of a challenge to get in there, but it's in there. So we're ready to start putting the hubs back on. We got the springs. We got to compress the springs, get them up in place, get the hubs on. I'm going to do a separate video on the hard line that I made for my other hub. I can't remember if it's this one or the other one, but I've got my hard lines on there. So if you want to watch that, that should be available on the channel also. I probably could have bought them, but I have a flare tool, so I went ahead and made one up. I had already made one for the other side just to see if I could do it, and it worked out pretty good. Again, really thank everybody for following along. You know, it's a project. Just keep plugging away on this. Appreciate the comments and support. If we get this thing back on its wheels, it'd be quite an accomplishment at this point for me. Feel like I'm getting somewhere. So again, thanks everybody. Have a great day.